Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all, wherever you are and whoever you are. Again, today is a wonderful day, quite a rainy day and so forth. You know, it's pretty much, well, gloomy weather, I would say today. Today is 26th of January, 2025. In 2 days, we will be celebrating a Lunar New Year, or some of us might call it Chinese New Year, which majority part of the East Asia would be on a holiday mode, uh, primary, primarily by in China, Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, uh, majority of the Southeast Asian countries, I would say, and Korea would be celebrating this auspicious Chinese New Year, or we call it Lunar New Year, as part of the community in the international, we'll call it. And yeah, it would be a period of rest, celebration, festivity, and yeah, I would be kind of off for vacation, resting at home, and so forth. So yeah, that's a little bit of things to celebrate on and rest to rejuvenate, as I would say. Anyway, today is Sunday. As usual, I have went to my local dealers to look for something that I'm interested in to buy. Of course, nothing fancy, nothing too expensive. As I did say, I kind of had a New Year resolution to focus on primary of Chinese. I was thinking of getting it, but I don't know whether the today what happened. Probably the dealer have already sold to another person. Because a lot of the Chinese banknotes, those not rare, not expensive, but quite difficult to find, is starting to pick up by people. I don't know, probably by me telling people around the community, but or people from tourists from China, which is notorious. I would say they come to other countries, they scour the dealers that has Chinese, their own local banknotes, and then purchase it and then bring it back to China. Majority they are doing in such a manner because what they found is it's much more cheaper for them to buy at outside of China rather than buying inside of China, because a lot of the people inside of China, they know the value is very high, the demand is high, so they probably is much difficult to purchase, and it's probably lucrative for them to search outside of China, purchase it, bring it back to China, and sell it at a high price in China, making quite a huge profit. That is some rumors that I've heard. It is not confirmed, but I do know that a lot of the dealers has been telling that a lot of the Chinese buyers, Chinese tourists from mainland China, are grabbing up the Chinese banknotes, especially the ones that are difficult to find. Now, even difficult to find, it doesn't mean the note is rare. It's just meant it's difficult to find. But the value of the note is the is at its trend is still considered in not valuable. They are still in the hovering range of $20 to $40 range, but because they're difficult to find and so forth, and if the demand goes up, then it will become skyrocket price. So a lot of notes that I'm now focusing in China, it will be a very difficult to find, and also it has to be a very good note for myself and to all banknote collectors when you're dealing it, especially looking for items that is on internet, even eBay. You have to be careful what you buying. If it's too good to be true, when the seller asks you to transfer any money or sort, you have to be careful. remember, try to think in consideration that if you're willing to lose those amount of money, then is the risk that you're able to take, then take it. I try to avoid buying thousands of dollars or spending thousands of dollars paying somebody that I've just met, and without literally just online meeting, not even face to face. So a very good advice is, if you're buying something really rare or expensive, make sure you can meet that person yourself. Or if he's out overseas, make sure he has a good feedback or reputation on his eBay reviews. Those would help. Especially don't look at the good reviews. You look at the bad reviews, because the bad reviews are always the honest and frustrated people, and you will know how the seller maneuver themselves, or with the buyers. Most of the feedback that is positive, it could be AI generated. This is something new that most people need to know. It could be AI generated by the seller, artificially making themselves look good. So this is one of the good reasons when you buy something online, even from eBay, from Amazon, Carousel, uh, Yahoo shops, or wherever shops online, Lazada, Shopee. Look into the reviews, especially the negative reviews, because mostly negative reviews are more honest people. The actual buyer would take their time and write their frustrations, compared to using a positive reviews. So those are one of the tips. And make sure if you think that is legitimate, you might not know, try to spend a little less. Just spend something that is you are able to burn, and then once you gradually think and you receive your product is genuine and so forth, you slowly increase your purchase of the spending with that buyer, that specific buyer. Becoming a returning buyer means you're increasing more budget to purchase an item from them. That way, it will much more safer, because scammers or people who play with you just to get your money, they'll try to attempt you to purchase or pay very large amount, because they know that it is one shot wonder kind of thing. Once they got your money, they disappear, literally just disappear. So these are the things that you or everyone, myself, have to be aware. Although you can't get banknotes from your dealers, uh, but the other option is you have to go through auction. Even auction, you have to be careful. Some auctions are not legitimate, and so forth. So again, you spend something very small that you willing to risk your money, that once it's gone, it's gone. It's like gambling. You pay something, don't expect for the return in value or equal value, or the money return. Don't spend big amount. Try to spend something that you're able to risk to burn. And once you gain the trust and everything is in order, they have delivered, then slowly increase your purchasing value. That way, it gives you more safer confidence, and being a repeat customer, to repeat buyers from from the sellers. So that's one tip that you can get. Okay, what are the current events that today, other than Chinese New Year coming soon in less than 48 hours? Donald Trump has been rampant, I would say, since he was inaugurated. Quite rampant, I would say. I think people, there are news, but I don't think that is really, really big population. The oxymoron of the Republican voters. Suddenly, the Republican voters, especially the very destitute Republican voters, or the poor Republican voters in the United States, start to feel that, what have I done, kind of scenario. It's like they're voting a president they were thinking they would help them, but eventually, in just 7 days, like, it did not. It did the opposite. a lot of the Medicare, Medicaid, the American system healthcare costs now is going to go up, uh, and up, I would say again, rather than going down. It's going to be more expensive. The rich is going to pay less tax. The poor is going to get more. They got to pay more money to it. The concept and the principle of tariffs, I think people start to look into the details of what is tariffs, how do they function. And, during the voting election time, a lot of people think that the tariffs are paid by the countries that's importing it. Basically, if I import from China, the Chinese companies are going to pay for it. The person who produced that and trying to send to the United States, they're the ones gonna pay. Or the one tariffs on Canadian product, the Canadians are gonna pay. Actually, is not true. Even the basic economic 101, a student can actually tell that when it comes to tariff, it imposed on its own citizen. The basic ABC, I would say, function of a tariff is to yes, what Donald Trump said is quite right in my view. Of course, in my view, is to jumpstart local produce or local production of that specific product. So, example, steel. When we talk about steel, a lot of cheap steels are imported from overseas, from China, from Canada, wherever you think it is, into America. So the market flooded in the United States market is cheap steel. When you produce a local steel, you can't compete because it's too cheap, and you have to sell at a certain products, the steel products, at a certain price, because you have to pay the upkeep of the workers. The labor laws has protected a lot of local American workforce. They have certain conditions that you have to pay their health care, their 401k, blah blah blah. Basically, this their insurance and so forth. So a lot of costs is being applied, and those costs goes into back to again who is consumers, because you're buying the steel product. So I have to include all this cost into the steel products that I'm selling. Whereas in overseas countries, like especially from developing countries, of course it's cheap because their purchasing power is weak, basically making their products cheap, and that is the purpose. They are being imported. They are cheaper, and people love to buy the product that is cheap. One very good example is like electric vehicles. Suddenly, China's electric vehicles has skyrocketed into the number one spot. Not Tesla. I'm pretty sure it's not Tesla. China is actually producing a lot of their own electric vehicles and exporting it, and a lot of demands in Europe, in Australia, and other Asian countries. The reason is for one purpose: it is cheap. So, tariffs. Back to the point: who's paying the tariffs? The citizen itself pays the tariff. The psychological point is, it is trying to tell Americans, hey, don't buy this steel. They're expensive. So you should buy American steel. You can start a program, the president can actually start this program. It's just very basic. A lot of the world countries are doing, including mine. Buy local product. Buy local brand. Buy American made brand products. Simple as that. Encourage your citizens to buy local. Basically pay to support local industry. That is a basic point if you want to encourage local industry to grow. So for me, this week the topic about tariffs was in the point of view for me. Immigration, well, not so much I could talk about, other than they are changing this, trying to change the American mindset is the first right now. America has always been very astute high and above that their country invites those who wants to be part of America. If I'm not mistaken, give us your poor, your weak. We will nurture them and blah blah blah, something like that. I may be butchering that, but I think that is a very fundamental symbolic gesture from America. If you are weak, if you are ready to fulfill your dreams, America is there for you. This is what I think I will call it, the American dream. The campaign that I think this is everlasting because the foundation of the Constitution, if you are born in American soil, America land, I would say, you are American. Anyone can become American. That was the opportunity given to many Europeans, Germans. At the beginning, it was British citizens, English, Scots, and Irish, extended to French, Germans, Italians, Spanish, or Spaniards. Almost all European countries, including East European, who run escaping from the communist rule by the Soviet Union. They came to America to build a better life. And now, once the so-called non-undesirable people like Asians, Mexicans, and so forth, trying to attempt to come into the country, it becomes a different story. America is now starting to question of their immigration policies, which built the foundation of what this United States is all about, and it is today. And truly regret many people don't recall that what brought their country so great is immigration. All kinds of walks of life coming together, building the country as they will call home for them. This is a very most powerful instrument any country building can ever have, bringing bright and talented scientists, hardworking laborers to the country, accelerating its economy. It is a highly productive, progressive system, I would say, and America was succeeded because of its immigration policy. For America right now, it is a starting position, or I would say a starting point. Especially Republican voters, they do need to consider to abandon their constitution and American spirit to build a new America spirit that restricts who are non-Americans to become American or to fulfill the American dream. This is the beginning, I would say, the decline of America's progress, which gave birth to what they are today. So, another sad part of the beginning, it will not materialize. I would think it will materialize anytime soon within these next 4 or 8 years or even 20 years. But it sets the foundation for people to consider the change on their constitution concerning on the citizenship rights. So that is the part that I was thinking what would happen right now in the course of immigration in the United States under Donald Trump. But mostly on the economic part, there will be a scramble of issues. Veterans, people who are destitute, this will be the first pinnacle, and they will judge in 2 years' time. Who knows what's going to be? Probability about that, give or take. So anyway, after that long and lengthy, boring self-reflection on the current affair news, let's get into it. So today, actually, I went to the dealer. I already got 2 notes here, as you can see right here. Nothing fancy, nothing rare or majestic as I would always think of having. Always. It is a quite unique ones that I've actually did long ago try to find, and I managed to find it. One of it is, let's start with Iran. This 20,000 riyal. As you can see, 20,000 riyal. Nothing special. Even the currency purchasing power for Iran's rial is actually one of the weakest or the weakest currency in the world. 20,000 riyal is almost to ringgit is like almost 1 cent to 2 cent ringgit. It worth nothing. And I got this note in this kind of condition. It's not so great, but at least is the colors are there. The colors are still bright blue. Tones are still good. The watermark has almost visible. You can see it because it's been pressed and so forth. So, but the notes are decent actually. There are no tears, no significant folds. I would say everything is still in good condition. It's just that it has been worn off from use. But this is one of the very unique notes that I find. Now there is another note, similar version to this. This note is printed from 2004 until 2005 ish. They only use for less than 1 year. Yeah, 1 year, and they have 3 different signatures. So if you look at the catalogs on the pick number standard catalog, there are actually 3 variations: A, B, C. Now, all that variation, the very unique about this note among all the Islamic republics banknote is the effigy, the portrait of the Imam Khomeini. This is the only note, in my view, in my personal view, comparing other notes I have for Iran, this is the only portrait I know that the Imam Khomeini smile. Now in the Ayatollah Khomeini never smile. Wherever you see his public view in the television or the portraits that you see in Iran or outside of Iran, most of his majority, all the banknotes, even that has his portrait, he does not smile. It shows a very neutral face, a very fierce face, something like your face of a grumpy old man, you know, always grumpy, never happy, never smile. So this is the only note that I felt that the portrait psychologically, maybe it's not intentionally, but psychologically, it looks like he's smiling, having a positive feel. Having a positive feel. And that is probably maybe that is the reason why this note design was only printed for less than 1 year. And then subsequently in 2006 onward till today, or probably just 3 or 4 years back, which they revised their banknote design. Almost 10 years or so or decade, they used another note, similar design, but the portrait has been changed to a more neutral face. Some might say this is the big portrait and the other one is actually small portrait. That's how people categorize this note. But for me, why this note only lasts for 1 year? Now some might say a lot of officially economically blah blah blah, the design they intentionally want to change because this one looks very ugly, not proportionate. Sure, that is one, but to me I think the very deep point of present is this portrait makes their propaganda terrible, because in their propaganda machine, Imam Khomeini shows neutral face. He never smiles. It always feels neutral or very angry face, fierce face. That is the Islamic revolution they want, a propaganda machine, and this face does not represent the propaganda machine that they want. So yeah, notes at the back is pretty much same. Even the newer one after this one is successor of this note is the same. The only difference is the portrait is changed. That is what I felt why this note only lasts for 1 year, and it's very difficult to find. I managed to find maybe about a couple of times, about 4 to 6 times, 4 to 6 times, but all mostly very bad condition. This is the best condition I ever found, and it cost me only 7 ringgit, less than 10 ringgit. It's cheap. I mean, Iran's banknotes are very cheap because they are the most weakest currency in the world. So even 20,000 real is very, very, very cheap, and because of the sanction by many of the EU countries because of their nuclear program and so forth, it actually damages their economy and weaken their currency. And this is one of the reasons I believe why they are going to they revamp 2 3 years back to reintroduce Tuman. I think it's a way of reforming their country's banknotes, especially their real is collapsed quite dramatically, I would say. So yeah, that's one of the probable reason. But this note's uniqueness to me is that the portrait is showing that he has smile, and not a very big smile, I would say. Of course, if you look at it, it's a very small smile, I would say, but it does project that kind of image, and that is one of the reasons why I think that it is this note only printed for 1 year. The other denomination series has been last longer than this note. This is only lasted 1 year. The rest have lasted more than 5 to 6 years. Then they rechanged the design and so forth, but never ever thought this one would change. So anyway, you decide. That is my own prerogative of analyzing my banknotes that I bought. I always like to speculate, and sometimes I keep the speculation in order, and I always give disclaimers on this that this is only my personal view. It is not yet being proven a fact. It's not proven, only my opinion or my conclusion on my own view. That's all. Alright, the next note. Yes. Very famous person. Saddam Hussein. So, this note is from Iraq. Now, most of you who are from European countries or Americans, North America, you might call it Iraq because of the word I stands for. Whereas most of the Middle East and Asian countries, especially Muslim majority countries, we pronounce it as Iraq, and a more Arabic sound, similar as you call it Sharia, we call it Sharia. Yeah, so those are the kind of difference of it. So I kind of understand what is one is trying to say, but yeah, right or wrong, it's the same meaning to me. So yeah, this is Saddam Hussein, printed in 1990. Specifically, this is a note printed during the emergency. This is called the emergency Gulf War issue. It was printed during the Gulf War when America launched the Desert Storm, the first one, from Desert Shield to Desert Storm. And yeah, it was a war against Kuwait. It was a very dramatic period of the Gulf War where America intervention to help Kuwait. So this note was an emergency issue during that time, and not many can this note survive. Of course, 50 dinars denomination is very, very common. Now, the one that is very rare among all the Saddam Hussein notes, all the Saddam Hussein notes are actually very, very, very cheap because their purchasing power was actually very weak, like Iran. So a lot of the banknotes you can get it within $2, $5, no more than $10 I would say. This one, in the book, currently it sells around $2 or $4, uncirculated. I paid a little more premium, of course, as always. I pay about. He asked for 48, but I get to bump down to 30 because 48 is way too much. And I told the seller that this note is actually quite common. They are not very rare, and even in auction, these are all too cheap to buy. And most of the people are selling in
bulks of this note. So there's no point selling me one piece in 40 ringgit, I would say. So he bumped down to 30. I accept that. So yeah, I pay for about 30 ringgit for this note. Conditions wise is very good, but the problem is stain. There's a stain in this side here, so it's not uncirculated, it's about uncirculated. There's no fold, there's no tear, every point is sharp, color is crease, and yeah, it's quite good. Micro printing, I can see, is right here, showing the denomination 50 dinars in Arabic, and there is the Arabic word for the Central Bank of Iraq. Yep, this looks similar like the Tower of Babel, but actually it's a mosque. Yeah, it looks nice. No watermark. Now this has a few variations. There's a silver thread, look like a silver thread. This one doesn't have silver thread, and they're supposed to have a fluorescent in here, UV light. This one doesn't have. But yeah, emergency print, there are quite a number of variations. This is actually, I would say, is condition wise, this is actually uh, original note, I would say. Yeah, it's not counterfeit notes, but the one that is I would say the one that is the higher denomination, the 100 dinar. Now that is the most expensive Saddam Hussein notes in the whole catalog, in the whole series. Among all the ones, the banknotes that has the portrait of Saddam Hussein, the emergency issue of the Gulf War during 1990s for 100 dinar is the most expensive one. Even I would say it's very expensive to the skyrocket about that. The book is written that uncirculated is of $40, but be caution. I think there's a word, caution. Vast majority of the notes that survive the 100 dinars were actually printed by the enemies or the rivals, which is by Iran. Iran printed the counterfeit notes for the 100 dinars during the Gulf War, and they flooded those notes into Iraq, basically successfully destabilized the country's economy because of the huge amount of the $100, and it's very very poor quality. It is extremely poor. Most of the details of the Saddam Hussein face disappear. It's just like a silhouette, like a outline of it, of the Saddam Hussein's portrait. It wasn't really that great compared to this one that has details like shadings and so forth. Although it looks very cheap compared to some of the notes you can see here that has much more details, because it's emergency print. So the quality will be definitely, even the original printers, they downgraded their quality control of the notes, and they printed like almost like a fax machine, like a normal printing, lithograph. It's a lithograph print. It's even faster print, but in a very cheaper way of printing. Yeah, I wouldn't, at that time of event. And a lot of those notes that are printed as a counterfeit or forged by Iran, not forged to on the purpose of collectors, but forged during the war, is still considered as one of the notes that is considered as authentic. Only thing is, it has a historic moment where the note is printed on the purpose of the war effort. Similar to the Japanese banknotes during the Second World War, America and the British tried to print and flood a Japanese banknote into the local market in Japanese colony, especially when I was in Malaya at that time, my country. The Japanese have hyperinflation because a lot of people have fake or forged notes which is produced by the American and the British to basically damage the economy. It's a fight, not in military but in economic also. So damaging economy is one of the warfares that in World War II they're doing it. Germans are doing it the same too against the British. forging a lot of the British pound banknotes. At that time, banknotes in Great Britain was very simple. It's a white paper on a very one color tone, black. I would say that is not a very big security wise, but anyway, that's one of the history of forgeries for the war effort. And in the Gulf War in 1990s, the Iran and Iraq fighting each other, the same thing. It is to destabilize the economy. So a lot of the notes for the 100 dinar is actually from the war effort. It is printed by and forged by Iran. So it's not literally fake, but it is during that time they fake it for to destroy these the countries or the enemies' economy. So that separates between that note and the original note, like this one. So the original note that is printed by Iraq, ordered by Iraq, 100 dinar, that is actually the rarest note among all the Saddam Hussein series notes. Every note on this Saddam Hussein, they're very cheap. They're less than $10. That note is actually more than $40, and that price is quite old. Today, probably around 80 to $100. I would say will be a good price around there. That's the note that I'm actually looking for. That is the one that I'm trying to find. And throughout the whole time, Heritage, there's no body selling that note. There's not in Heritage. I haven't seen Christine. I haven't seen any stacks of bowels having to have an item or object of that 100 dinar originally printed by the government of Iraq, sold in auction. None, zilt. And to me, it is one of those notes that are very rare, but yet it is inexpensive. You hear me right? Because they're not desirable notes. When there are no demand for that note in the masses, the price doesn't go up. It goes stagnant. I would say it goes down, but because of it is buffed up by the rarity of the note, so it won't go down. It will remain stagnant unless the demand goes up, price goes up. So that 100 dinar is kind of a note that is difficult to find, yet is still cheap, still feasible to be purchased by a large group of people or collectors. So yeah, those are the things that surprise of these two notes which I have to tackle. One of it, smiling face of Imam Khomeini. One of it is the emergency note, which is also one of the hardest to find notes. Even this one is only cost $4. And the history of the notes are 100. So that is all I have today. Actually, all the notes that I've got. So I haven't expect my notes from overseas coming through. I think it will make it. There's some certain complications at the moment. So yeah, what I was planning to do during this festivity, I'll probably reorganize my notes and plan what I wanted to target properly. But probably I'll do a video concerning notes on China, as I promised during last month, that I would show some of the notes and probably some explanation of the notes concerning about the custom gold unit currency. It's very unique note, I would say. It started out as a control currency for the use of import and export in and out of China during during the Second World War period, 1940 from 1930s to 1940s period. It was supposed to be used for customs agencies, for import and exports and so forth. So that those currency, those notes worth a lot of money at that time. They have high value. But suddenly the government decided, because this note has some value, and it was more desirable people to use this note widely as a common note, they decided to make it more into from a custom, specially used for custom currency, to white, of the entire country can use this currency. And that is where the many varieties of the notes were being printed to meet the demand of the consumers at that time. And many varieties, it creates a lot of variation in design of the note itself. It's one of the big portion of the Republic of China series. There's a huge bulk of it, and I personally, I love that note, and I try and strive myself that I will try to find all the notes to try to complete this series for the custom gold unit as greatly I could. There could be some that are in poor condition. At the moment, I just need the original note in my possession. I may consider thinking of upgrading the notes, but I'm not just solely targeting those notes that are in pristine and good condition. Sometimes within the budget, you need to buy most of it. You have to downgrade a little bit more so that at least the collection is being fulfilled. So yeah, that will be the next video. I will talk about the custom gold unit from Republic of China notes, and that is all for today for me. Thank you very much for you guys out there. Been watching. Again, a little disclaimer, I do these videos actually for my own personal diary and store those information in YouTube's so-called space, is a YouTube cloud, and in return I just it's an open share video so that everyone can view if they are interested. If you disagree some of the things or have some comment, do give me a comment. If you like the video, just give me a like and subscribe if you wish to see further notification for future videos that I lock in my so-called my diary on my collection. So again, I would like to say thank you very much, and I hope to see you guys again. Bye.